Cool. So we have Megan here, who has a fitness coaching business. And I think she just went from about 30, 35K a month, started hitting consistent 50K months. And our whole goal in this video is really just to break this down for you guys. Like, how the heck did we get here? So, Megan, maybe take it away. Where did you start like 4 or 5 months ago?
All right, before we play the rest of this video, if you want help with this stuff, right? Like growing your business, scaling your business, it might be leads, it might be, closing more sales, maybe it's hiring a team, whatever it is. If you want help with this, click the link below this video, book in a time to chat with me, and let me see if I can help you grow. All right, let's get back to the video.
Yeah, so 4 or 5 months ago, I was averaging more or less consistent 30K months. Maybe the average was like a little bit higher than that. And some months maybe be like 27K. And then every, two times this year, I'd had like a 45K. So there was like a big jump up. So I guess it was like indicative that I was moving in the right direction. But overall, for a while, I just been averaging kind of like the 30K months. And obviously that's very good.
Yeah.
So I think I was also getting kind of just comfortable there, and I was staying there for a while longer than I needed to. And so that's why I'm almost just surprised, well, no, I kind of am. Like I still can't really wrap my head around it to just have like jumped up to the 50K months. And yeah, the first one was August. So, and it kind of was like, okay, I did the 50K month finally, I had a 50K cash month. And I thought like, oh, okay, maybe that'll just be standalone. But then this past month we did 51.5K. So it's like, okay, now I just had the next one and it was even a little bit higher. So it's weird to just be like, oh, I guess it's like consistent 50K is the thing now instead of consistent 30K.
Crazy. And I'm super stoked to break this down for people and get to what that looks like because your lifestyle is incredible. And for anyone who doesn't know Megan, like her I guess brand is like nomadic fitness. So you're totally living the nomadic fitness life. We'll dive into that in a second. But back to kind of the beginning. I think I remember you like around the time we started working together. I think I remember it was in a month or a month after, like you did send me a screenshot, like very close to when we started working together. You're like, I just hit my first like 100K cash quarter or something. So I think you were truly around that 33K a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's actually a really good point. Yeah. Like Q1 and Q2 this year were both like 101K cash collected. And at that time that was feet. And now we just wrapped up Q3 and it was like 133K. So there was a pretty big jump up all of a sudden because of these 250K months.
For sure. And like I just did some math here on Google, but it's like you basically added and you did the 250K months, so it's like you basically added another 17K like per month to the business. And if you did that for the next 12 months, you basically just added like another 204K this year to the business, which is awesome, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah. It's wild, but I mean, I'm loving it.
Yeah. And where like before we started working together, like so you were at like 33K a month. I do want to dive into a couple things. Who did you have? Because I want people to understand like what it takes to get from even a 10K month to a 33K month, or from a 33K month to 50K months. But like, was it just you on your team? Did you have other people before we started working together? Did you have any assistant coaches? Like, who was on the team then?
My team was pretty small, so end of 2023 was really when I first started moving towards building a team, but it's been more, especially this year, 2024. And we'll get into this, but really, I mean, that's been the secret to this huge jump in revenue and the successes. And now I just feel so like, man, I wish I just done this way sooner. And, that's the main piece of advice I would personally be giving anybody earlier on in their business journey is just be like, just build out your team way sooner than you think you need it. You're
Mhm.
never going to feel ready for it. You're going to have the anxiety of like, oh, but if I don't do it, and you're going to go through all that. I went through all that. It took me a long time to get over it. And yeah, it's not until you actually do get over and you actually do hire the people that you're like, oh, it makes so, and it's just like, it's so logical, but yeah, our fear brain gets in the way because yeah, logically, it's just like, well, duh, obviously the business is going to do better. It's going to make more money if you just have multiple people who can put their time, their energy, their focus towards multiple different things instead of you only, because you as one person can only do so much. And especially, and we can also talk about this, like, don't get me wrong, I work hard. Definitely sometimes like I pull long hours. I'd say I'm more than like somebody who works a lot in any one given day. I'm more a consistent person. So it's just like, I've been doing this for years and I've stayed consistent with it. But yeah, like I feel like there's two types of entrepreneurs, and like there's the type who I feel like is more like you, Morgan, or like the Hormozis, who just like really enjoy working a lot.
Yeah.
And like you're super and that's just you like it and like it works well for you. And then there's the group that I feel like I'm in, which is yeah, we like to work and yeah, like we have goals and everything, but we also don't want to work that much and like to take quite a bit of time away. And that's definitely where I fall in. And that's been the really cool thing about building up the team is I've really been able to not, like last month I hardly worked. I traveled so much. And for us to still have our biggest cash month, like I still can't really grasp that that happened, but here we are.
Yeah, super cool. Which is just proof. And I think your Wi-Fi, okay, your Wi-Fi is that cool, but it's just proof of like you can build the business around your lifestyle, right? Like you want to have more free time, you want to be able to travel, and you built the business that way. Like you don't have to build a business that you hate. Like build the business that
Yeah.
works for you, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think people like get so because in the beginning, obviously in the beginning, I think it's maybe it's not Hermosi, but whatever. Like these entrepreneur guru people say, it's you have one or the other. Like you either have money, and if you have money, you can obviously put that towards paying for services, paying for team members, all of that to scale things up. But if you don't have money, then you have time, right? It's one or the other. And it's always a choice, like which one would you rather spend? So obviously in the beginning, when you're building up to even consistent like 5K months, let's say, you are working a lot and you're doing everything. So, but I think the problem is, and I can see that I was this way. I think the problem is people get really attached to that because it's like they built the business, they got it to a certain point, they've been doing all the things that they get stuck in that. And for myself, I was really stuck at the consistent 20 to 30K months for a while. And I see this with a lot of other coaches is like they get to that consistent 20, 30K and nothing wrong with that. That's a lot of money. But I really think that's pretty much the limit of what you can do, just you. And you're also going to be working like a good bit because you're going to have to be the one taking all the sales calls, doing all the content, like doing everything. So if you want to get past that, if you want to be able to make more and work less and have more peace of mind, that's where you're going to need a team.
100%. No, I love it. I love all the coaching in here, and like that's the point of this video is like for people to understand that this is possible and like how to do it, if that makes sense. And we're
Yeah.
both on the same page here. We both got capped around the like I also capped myself around the 30K per month mark, right? And it wasn't
Mhm.
until I started bringing on a setter, hiring team, changing all these belief patterns in myself that I had to do everything that we
Mhm.
started like, going higher months. And it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like running the ads. You're like scared to run the ads at first, and then you set the ads live, and you're like, wait, this isn't that crazy, you know? Or like
Yeah.
investing. Like you're big on investing, right? It's like you're probably scared before you invest your first dollar, and then you do it, and you're like, why was I not doing this like a decade ago, you know?
Oh yeah. No, you definitely need to be investing. Like
Yeah.
that's one consistent thing I see. And I think it's kind of uh, I don't know if the funny, I suppose, for people who choose to not invest, who don't want to be investing. I just see it consistently. I'm like, man, people who invest are the ones who really take off, start doing super well. And these people who are just like determined to figure it all out on their own,
Yeah.
not invest anything, like they just stay stuck. They never get anywhere. Like, so it's a really broke mindset to have. And that's why you're gonna stay broke. Like I do know a few people who've never hired coaches and they've been able to be successful, but I think that that's like a very small percentage of people because most people just they're gonna need a lot of guidance. And even still, it's just like, wouldn't you rather just get there faster? So like
Mm.
find the person doing what you want to have and then just be like literally like I'm just going to pay you for you to walk me through, like hold me accountable, lay out the exact steps, so it's much better. And obviously that was why I joined your program, because I was like, okay, just like literally. And it was like I actually pitched it to you, I was like, oh, okay, these ads, yeah, can you just like show me how to do that? Okay, like just send me the invoice, like let's do this.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And to your point, like that's why I was a broke coach for the first 5 years because I was like, I'm smart enough to figure this out, and I was still waiting
And
tables
now,
5 years later.
yeah. Yeah, I know you have that story. Like I have always invested, and I think that's why my growth has been kind of consistent in like slow and steady. And I think it comes back to like my nature as an entrepreneur. It's like I like to work, I like to, be, but I'm also not like the type to be like 12-hour days all the time. So I
Yeah,
think that's been the reason for the slow and steady. But I'm also seeing that, it's starting to go woo, like pretty quickly. Like the curve is
yeah.
increasing.
Entrepreneurship is like that. It's usually not a linear thing. Like fat loss can be like kind of linear, but entrepreneurship's kind of like nothing's happening, nothing's happening. They're like, oh shit, you know? Yeah.
Hmm.
One quick question before we move on a little bit. I am curious, like on the before side of things, like when you were doing, well, actually, even anytime before you got to like 33K a month, who were the people that you did have on the team? Was it just mostly like an editor to edit the videos and it was assistant coach?
Yeah, sorry. I know you did ask. I went in a different direction.
Oh, okay.
So it was, yeah, I had an editor, and even that, I mean, back when I was more like consistent 10 to 20K months, I was still trying to edit my own YouTube videos. Please do not,
Oh,
just do not,
oh,
do not edit your own content. Like that's it's a very foolish thing to do because you can get a very good editor who is hardly going to cost anything. They're going to be way better at it than you do. And editing takes hours. It's like you do not want to be wasting your time and energy and focus on something like that. You can be paying someone $5, $10 an hour to do. So yes, even that, I was like, oh, let me hire someone to edit my YouTubes, my reels, whatever. So I had my editor, and then yeah, I was in 2023, I got the first assistant coach on the team. Technically, the very, very, very first one was the end of 2022. And that was like probably the biggest hurdle of all, because that was the first time like I had brought anyone on to help with coaching clients, and I had a big barrier around that of just like, no, but if it's not me, then people will be mad and they won't get as good results and I won't be able to really know what's going on. But a big mistake I kind of personally made, and I learned, was just the first assistant coach. We did it more like, okay, we're both co-coaching the same clients, which I ended up realizing wasn't great. There was just kind of confusion on the clients' parts, and like some of them would say, I kind of would rather just talk to you instead of talk to the assistant coach. So the shift I made late 2023 was I brought on the first assistant coach where I was like, you are now going to have your own client roster. Like it will be clear from the get-go that these clients are going to you, or if they insist, that they really want to work with Megan, they're going to pay a little bit more, and like my roster is going to stay small. So that's really who I had at the end of 2023 was, yeah, bringing on, and that was like early days of bringing on that assistant coach, editor, and then, like really minimally used basic VA just for like some small tasks, but it wasn't like not even a full on assistant, because like I would still do a lot of random things myself.
yeah. Okay. That's super helpful. So you had an editor that you started to use, which you wish you would have done that a lot sooner than when you're at 20K per month. So that's mistake number one, lesson number one for
Yeah.
everyone listening. And then you
Yeah.
brought on the AC, and the first mistake was trying to like co-coach everyone, and that just was confusing. And you should
Yeah.
have just like let her have her own clients, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
What, just out of curiosity, what income level did you bring on the AC at? Was that 20K per month? Or was that?
Yeah, so the first AC came on when I was getting to consistent 20K months.
Okay.
And then so that was the first AC where we were co-coaching. And then yeah, by the end of 2023, it was more so consistent 30K.
Okay. And that's when it was like her clients.
Yeah, that's when I made that transition. That was like literally December 2023, so the very end of last year, which is why I see it as it's really been 2024 where I fully moved into the like CEO mode and like really worked on expanding my team, which yeah, we can talk about because that's been everything for the business to grow.
That's cool. Okay. What was I gonna ask about the oh, and just for anyone listening too, Megan, because I have some people that are in the UK or Spain or Canada, especially. So she's talking, we're all talking in USD here, just so you know. So if you're Canadian, you brought on the AC around like 26K or 27K a month Canadian or something like that. Would you have done it sooner though, just for people like listening?
Definitely,
When would you have
definitely
done it?
like
When would you have done it?
what oh, probably even at consistent 10K, like
Mhm.
on potentially even sooner. Like
Yeah.
I'd say yeah, like you could do it even before 10K. Like I think even when you're getting between like consistent 5 to 10K, but I'd say at that point, you can still be doing it yourself. Like you're probably still honestly getting the full feel of like what your program even is. Like really developing and fine-tuning like the details of the program, how you market it, getting all your testimonials. So I think probably by the time you're getting close to the 10K, it just makes sense to at least be bringing on some kind of back end support because like, okay, you're getting to consistent 10K months. That means you obviously have a viable offer. Like you have something that people want, you're getting great results. Like it's only going to go up from here. But what will stop you going up is the amount of energy and time that you have. So it just makes sense to be thinking ahead and being like, okay, let me start bringing on somebody to help ensure the clients have a good experience, to be training that person in your methodology, so that you're ahead of the game and then you'll be able to scale much faster that way.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Super good picture for people. Okay, so I guess before we move on to now and the steps we did to get there and all that jazz, what do you like, why did you come to me like in the beginning? Like, what were you looking for help with? What was the
Honestly,
in your mind?
yeah, like the thing that was the trigger
Trigger.
was when you just blew my mind talking about the new follower ads,
Yeah,
because my experience with ads, and I know you had this experience previously and most people have this opinion. Even still, it's funny, like I guess because you got me into this world of like new follower ads and setting and closing. And of course, well, I knew setting and closing was a thing. Like that's kind of standard, but doing it in this way with the new follower ads. But it's funny, I feel like I'm so in this world now that it's like very obvious,
yeah,
even in the coaching space. But then, I meet so many coaches, entrepreneurs, and they're still like, oh, ads, yeah, no, that's crazy. And like, you should only do that if you're going to like hire an ad agency. And then I'm always like, no, you don't know the secret. You don't know how easy it can be. So it's funny that I don't really know why it's not well known, but it's just not. So yeah, that was definitely like you had me right there because I was just like, was coming from that same background of like, oh my God, ads are horrible. Like I had my ads account shut down previously. And I was just like, really didn't want to go there. And then you were like, no, there's this way where it like doesn't cost you anything and you literally just boost it within Instagram itself. And all you're doing is telling people to come follow you. So it's just like such an easy CTA. And then it's more that you're doing your the kind of the follow-up in the DMs and everything. So pretty much I was just fascinated. I was like, this sounds too good to be true, but obviously you kept talking about it and I was like, okay. And yeah, like I said, I am somebody who's just like, I'd much rather just pay and be like, literally just show me exactly how to do this than for me to go try to figure it all out on my own. So that's what happened. I was like, okay, just show me how to do this. And then there ended up being all these other things that came out of working with you that I didn't expect, but that was the thing that made me be like, I want in.
Okay, cool. Oh, so much stuff. I don't even know where to take us next. But like, so with the follower ads, I mean, actually, I want to bring everyone's attention to like one key point that you made. It's not just like, honestly, the ads are kind of the easy part in some ways because it's not about just getting the leads. It's about working the leads that you get. Like, I feel like everyone's biggest problem is actually a setting problem. So just like
Yeah.
key point that you made is like, if you just get a bunch of followers and you don't know what to do with them, like that doesn't really
Yeah.
grow your business, you know?
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. How I think you added 5,000 extra followers. Do you know how many you added in the last 5 months?
Yeah, it's been like, I think even 6,000. I don't remember. No, okay, I think it was five. I think I crossed 10K followers on my own organically, and I was like, oh my God, I hit 10K. And then in just a few months of, yeah, doing the new follower ads, went up to 15K.
Okay. How long did it take you to get the first 10K when you were doing organic?
Oh man. Years. Literally years. I mean, I started this Instagram 2019. And to be fair, and it's so insane to me to think that this was ever the case because now I really don't enjoy Facebook at all. Like, I actually kind of hate it. But the beginning of my business, I actually was using primarily Facebook, getting clients on Facebook. So I did have Instagram, but I wasn't utilizing it that well. So I was utilizing it to some degree. But it was more probably, yeah, in 2020 when I started to get really consistent posting on Instagram. And by 2021, I was like completely converted to Instagram and I was like, ew, Facebook, no, and wanting to use only Instagram. So yeah, pretty much since 2019 to 2024 to get to 10K.
So like 2K a year, let's just if we were to average it, it's not linear, but if it was like 2K a
Yeah,
year, okay.
something like that. Yeah, very slow.
Now you're probably growing by maybe like 12K a year, something like that. Like if you were to just keep going, like
I
a
don't
thousand
even
a month,
know.
basically.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
it can just be, I mean, can always just put some more money if you want it to grow faster, right?
for sure. You
To
could just
some
ad spend. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, cool. So that's like the new follower ads. That's like the reason that you even were like, okay, let's do the thing. That was the trigger, as you called it. Um,
Yeah.
what else happened since then? So there was the lead problem, and then was there any other things that we did that were like, okay, that was a game changer?
Well, definitely the biggest takeaway by far that I did not anticipate, and everything is different now because of this. And I'm just like, oh, this is so good. I'm so grateful. Is that well, first of all, you introduced me to my closer and just got me into that idea, helped me figure out how I should go about doing it. So yeah, I mean, and I do think I was pretty much the only exception to this in your program that usually you go the path of like, oh, you're first going to hire your setter and then you're going to hire your closer later. And I did also hire a setter and like, I'm still, that's still been a benefit. But that's definitely, I mean, as you know, and it's just me, it's my own fault for just not giving it enough attention. But what I realized was, yeah, like first was trying to get the setter in place. And then and this was the cool thing about, how I personally scaled my business to 20 consistent 20 to 30K months was actually I was doing it without sales calls. Of course, every now and then I would take a sales call. But for the most part, I tried not to. Like I would like deliberately try to avoid it because I just don't enjoy it. I kind of was like, oh, I feel like it's a waste of time. And I hate that like it's in my calendar that I have to sit on Zoom and I have to talk to this person and who knows if they're going to close. And I had just taken the method of, and to this day, the area that I put all my attention and energy into the business for the most part, outside of actual coaching, is just marketing and content creation. That's definitely what I love the most. It's my zone of genius. So that's actually how I scaled up the business in the first place was like, I would just post about it. Like I would just be like, here's the program, like here's how it works, here's our results, here's how much it is. Like DM me if you're interested. And then people would be like, yeah, I'm interested. I'd be like, here's the link in the DMs, and people would pay that way. And I think that was the other big thing that, your program and everything helped me with, was just realizing, as great as it was to do it that way. And like, I think it's still possible that I could have continued to scale to some degree with that method. But what I will say, oh, this was the other thing that lured me in actually, was, you know, I would get burnt out from the like, oh, I have to post on stories. I have to like do a whole pitch, and like, oh, I have to do this every day. And like, if I feel annoyed by it, surely my followers find it kind of annoying that I'm like pitching so hard all the time. So I found that annoying, but I was just also like, okay, but I have to do this, otherwise the business won't make sales, right? So that was the other thing that lured me in big time around what you were saying with the ads. Was you were like, yeah, like now I don't even have to post that much because the ads are doing it. And I was like, what? That sounds amazing. So that was really appealing to me. But anyways, all of this to say that I realized, okay, although we're getting people, we are hitting a max, we're staying at this consistent 20 to 30K, because really we're only getting the super warm people. Like the
Yeah.
people who are ready to buy are the ones who are going to say, hey, give me the link. But that means there's so many people on the peripheral who maybe they're seeing, maybe they're interested, or maybe they're not even seeing it at all, and that's what setting taught me as well. Getting into DMs, like I was like, whoa, there's a lot of people who like don't even know that I have a program, but they definitely need my program. Like they have a problem. So it made me realize, how powerful outreach is, and, how much money you're leaving on the table by not going directly and trying to directly help people with their problem, and like show them that your program is the obvious solution to their problem. So in the beginning, I was trying to, yeah, train up my setter. But then, so the problem that we were running into was like, okay, the setter can get calls booked, but then I was still very resistant to doing sales calls because I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to have to take the time to like get on all these sales calls. So the system kind of wasn't working. So that's when it dawned on, and I don't even really remember how we came to this conclusion, but like, it clicked, I guess, for both of us that like, oh, actually it would make more sense then if you are avoiding sales calls, like you should get a closer, somebody who can do sales calls for you. And in the beginning, I was still kind of like, I don't know, I don't know. But then what I did was I actually interviewed experienced professional closers who had experience in high ticket nutrition programs. So they weren't specifically fitness, but it was in the arena, and it was like a similar price point. And when I talked to them, it was like, oh, now I understand why a closer is so valuable, because I just realized that they led the sales call in a very different way than I did. And they knew way more about sales psychology than I did. And they actually enjoyed doing sales calls. It was like their bread and butter. And yeah, they just knew how to get like really deep, really emotional, get really into the why with the prospect, which made me realize like I'm not doing that even close to enough, especially for something like what I sell, fitness, which is very emotional. Like
Emotional.
there's a lot to unpack. Yeah. And so that's when I was like, all right, let me hire this person. And it was scary. I had a lot of like nervousness around it, a lot of apprehension. I was like worried. I was like, I'm going to be giving away too much money. Is this going to actually work? And definitely took about a month of all my effort going into just training the closer on my program, building out the funnel, the new funnel of like, okay, how they're going to book into the calls and everything around that. But then after that, we went up 20K in revenue each month. So definitely worth it.
Yeah. So good. While working less, because like you're not selling people in the DMs now, even. You're not even messaging people. Like it's just like they're ready, call, close their job. And then your
Yeah.
takes over, right?
Yeah.
You're just
No,
like
it's been,
front end.
it's,
You're
yeah.
front end zone of genius. And like you're a little bit DMs now, but you're gonna put someone in place there, right? You're just literally gonna be front end. Someone's gonna pass it to the closer who's gonna pass it to your AC. And that's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just so crazy. I mean, this past month, September, I was able to take my sister, so just can pay for my family to take extravagant vacations, which is awesome. We went for 10 days to Turkey. That was like a full-blown vacation. We like hot air balloons, paragliding, boat trips, camels, like all this stuff. Then I moved to the south of France, French Riviera, like having a good time. Obviously, I came to London to your event. And then I just moved to Cape Town. So that's where I am now. I did all of that in 1 month, like I'm staying in like a super bougie Airbnb. Like I can just, I don't hesitate. I'm like, yep, buy that flight, like pay for that Airbnb, like my sister, I'm gonna pay for her flight, boom, like 5-star hotel, like I don't, and then just being like, oh yeah, like there's my closer. Oh, she just closed, 5,500. Boom. Okay, yeah. And now my assistant coach is taking care of that client. Yeah. Even as I'm saying it, I'm like, how is this my life? But
Oh,
here we are.
I know. It's so crazy. And also, I think you just had a big win too, which was like the coolest Stripe screenshot to see. Do you want to tell anyone about that? That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So technically, I did hit this point sooner because I
Mm.
didn't consistently start using Stripe only to process payments. And yeah, try to not make this mistake. I was just very disorganized with like all the business things in the beginning, like the first 2.5 years. I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then finally, beginning of 2021, I like actually made the business an LLC. I started using the Stripe account consistently. So what happened was in my Stripe account, we just passed the $1 million cash collected mark. So that was cool. Like I saw it coming for a while. I was like, oh, we're gonna hit. And again, like technically we hit $1 million sooner just because with the various accounts in the beginning, but I didn't make that much in the beginning. So really it's been mainly like, 2021 to now, which I guess averages out to about, 250,000 in each of those years. But obviously, the 2021 was my first 6-figure year, like just over 100K. And then I've gone up by 100K each year. And this year should be, 500K. And then I honestly think the year after can easily be 1 million, like with all of this, with the ads, the setting, the closing, the back end team, like there's really just no reason that it can't be that.
I mean, you just went up by 17K a month. That's literally another 33K a month, right?
Oh, I
That's two
know.
more 15K a month like, increments on the belt, you know?
Yeah. Yes, it's crazy.
So cool. So cool. And cool. And just to backtrack a little bit on the closing stuff, it's funny because I do remember that point you're talking about where it's like we kind of had all the system and you were doing it in the DMs, and then it was sort of like, okay, but like, do we keep doing it in the DMs? Because you could have, or do we get the
Mm,
closer? And it's like, well, it was like DMs or sales calls. It's like, well, you could do sales calls, but if you don't
yeah.
do the sales calls, then you'd need to do a closer, right? And I think that
Yeah.
seed got planted, and at first you were like, okay, like whatever, and just kind of closing in the DMs. And then eventually it was like, okay, maybe I'll warm up to this a little bit. And I remember like we definitely went back and forth a little bit in Slack on like, but what are we paying the closer and what about this and the negotiations? Like there's lots of back and
Yeah.
forth on Slack before we hired the closer, you know?
Oh yeah. And that's why I'm saying, I had a lot of fear, a lot of doubts. Like I really was like, have I made the right choice? Like, and right before, so like, yeah, I was training the closer the month of July. And that month, I remember, there were many times where I was like, I felt really the stress and the anxiety. And I felt this moment. I felt that type of emotion many times in my business. And the thing I've learned is like, I know every time I get that way, I'm like, oh, it's because like I'm about to quantum leap. That's why I'm feeling that way. Because I've learned that because that's happened so many times now. And it's always like when you're getting to that point of like, I'm so scared, I'm so like, but what is this going to work? Is right when it's all about to start working so well that you won't even be able to comprehend it. So that's a little mindset tip
I
for,
love the
for
little mindset bombs that are in this. They're super good. Yeah, they're super good. Cool.
yeah. So it was scary, but I mean, yeah, it's been unbelievably worth it. And I still can't really fully grasp it. Because it's just happening. And I'm like, that's so weird, but it's awesome. I love it.
Crazy. How many countries did you go to in last month? In the last like
Um, I guess, well, maybe over a 6 week span, I went to Spain, Turkey, France, England, and now South Africa. And
five?
Monaco, technically, is a country, so six.
How many hours a week do you work, would you say? I'm curious. I don't actually know the answer to this.
Yeah, so last month I really didn't work that much because I was just living my best life. So last month, I don't know. I had a lot of weeks where it was like 10 to 20 hours. Um, I think usually I work like 30 hours. Sometimes it's more like 20. Sometimes it's still like 40 or more. It kind of depends. Like when I'm more situated, then I just naturally tend to work more just because I'm like, oh, I'm just kind of like I have my home, I'm cozy, like I kind of want to focus. But since last month, since there was so much travel, I wasn't working that much because I was being very in the moment of my travels. And then nonetheless, we had our biggest month. So
I love it. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Also, I just want you to know that I totally sacrificed my potential closer to give to you.
I'm very appreciative.
Shameless, shameless plug, a bonus of being in my network. It's like, okay, I know setters and I know closers and VAs that I could just be like, here you go, so you don't hire a terrible one. But no, I'm glad
Yes.
it's working out. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit for sure. Just like the network of people who are doing the thing, who know good people, like and like know as in they have the actual data, they have the actual facts, it's like you're not just somebody saying, I swear I'm a good closer. Like it's like you have the third party verifying, like, yes, this person worked for me. Yes, this was her close rate. Like, yes, she did XYZ. So it's like, you're getting someone good. And yeah, just the convenience of like, here you go, instead of you having to go hunt for that person and like suss them out and be like, is this really a thing? So that's a huge advantage for sure. And I'm very grateful.
I'm stoked that's working out for both of you. Because I remember like I was in Panama at the time and I was like walking around in my kitchen and I was like, damn, I'm gonna need a closer soon, and I know someone who would be a good fit, but then you were in Slack and you were looking for a closer, and I was like, but am I ready to bring on the closer right now? And I was like, fuck it, I'll give the closer to Megan. I was like, here you go. So
Well, and the difference is that you actually like sales calls and you're very good at them. So even though, yeah, of course, like there's still the argument of like, okay, you're taking your time and energy to do it. So at some point, I mean, I know it is your plan to still outsource it for that reason, but like at least you like it, at least you're good at it. Versus me, I was like, I'm not really good at this. And it really dawned on me when I actually talked to the experts. I was like, oh, wow, like I am not good at sales calls. I didn't even know any of this stuff. I'm not interested in learning it. And I just like don't want to spend my time doing that. So it just makes sense to hire someone who likes it, knows what they're doing, and like can put their focus towards it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Cool. Um, is there anything you want to add on the journey from 33K a month to 50K a month? Anything that you want to add for people?
I honestly just think that the main takeaway is to just, yeah, hire out a team way sooner than you think you need to do that you think you need to do it. And just get out of your own way around it as far as like all the stories you're going to tell yourself of like, oh, but I get this and that and this. Like it is just the way that you're going to scale is a team. So just do it and you'll be astounded how fast things will scale up when you actually get that in place. And so it's worth it instead of you can insisting on staying in your solopreneur vibes and being completely capped. It's like, no, no, no. Let's get everyone in their zone of genius and let the machine work accordingly.
Yeah. And everyone's happier and everyone's like doing better in their role anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. If you were to give someone one mindset shift, because you said you struggled with the AC, one mindset shift for that person and one mindset shift for the closer, what would you tell them?
So I'd say as far as, yeah, like back end support, like having support coaches, assistant coaches, whatever you want to call it. The big shift you have to make, and I'll explain how this did change in my business. The big shift you have to make is that you're not selling you, you're selling your product or your program, right? And there's a very big difference because people, because it's a personal brand and they're like solopreneurs, so they get really caught up in this like, oh no, but if they're not working with me, if it's not me, they're going to be upset and nobody's going to want to buy it. And I saw the transition of how that changed in my business. And now it's like extremely rare that somebody even asks like, oh, but can I work with Megan? Can Megan be my coach? Like that almost never happens. And the only reason it would is just like maybe this person has been following me for a really long time. So they kind of like attached to like, I specifically want it to be Megan. And then, I've even literally like I've turned down thousands of dollars because I've been like, you literally are gonna get the same experience with my support coaches, and it's not gonna cost you as much. In fact, you may even get a better experience because they can completely dedicate themselves to coaching you, whereas I have to also be doing content, so I can't give it my full focus. So yeah, I think that's a really big mindset shift to make, is just like stop thinking you're selling yourself and realize that you're creating like intellectual property, that it's like you're selling your methodology, your unique method, whatever you want to call it. And then like change the wording in your marketing, like start calling it like this program, like our results. And your audience will respond accordingly.
Yeah, totally. Any shifts on the closer, mindset wise?
Yes, that it's completely it. I mean, again, this is where it comes down to like zone of genius, all of this, because it's like at the end of the day, you're going to have to choose what to outsource. And I mean, there's some people probably who would, prefer to outsource like the marketing and the content creation. That kind of depends on your brand, like the degree to which you can do that. And then maybe you're just like, no, I want to do all the closing. Like, okay, that's fine. So, it's up to you to decide what's the thing that is going to be your focus. Is it going to be sales? Is it going to be marketing? Is it going to be like the back end? But I do just think it makes sense, even if you enjoy sales and all that, just still makes sense to hire someone to do it, because most likely you can get somebody who is better at it than you. Even if you're good at it, there's people who are like experts at it, who've like, my closer has literally trained with Dan Locke, Stacey Bateman, like top people in sales. And so yeah, you're just going to be getting so much time back. And another thing that happened was she actually helped me like way increase our prices, like getting pretty much now everybody pays in full up front. So that's been a huge shift, because I used to do much more payment plans, and she was like, nah, like we're just getting people to do it up front, like increase the prices. So it's just worth it that you get somebody who can really do it well,
Mhm.
and then you can, yeah, put your focus most likely where it's going to be better used, which is going to be content, and or also just like the actual service to the clients on the back end.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the shift is like number one, stop thinking that you can do it better because there's someone who this is their zone of genius and they can do it better than you. And you should be
Mhm.
in your zone of genius. And if you use the time you have for that, you'll make way more money in the business anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you can just put your attention into, because really if you can get a great closer in place, then the highest leverage becomes, okay, how can we be getting, how can we be bringing in lots of warm leads?
Mhm.
Because I know as soon as we get those leads with my closer, they're going to close, right? So it's like putting that focus into great content that's going to bring those people in. And then on the back end, being like, how can we make sure that our clients have such a good experience, that we get great testimonials, that the program essentially just sells itself?
Yeah, 100%. Cool. I love it. I love it. I have one more question for you before you go. Do
Yes.
you have, you're human. I know that you say that you're like, I just get it, I just invest, but you are also human. So did you have any
Uh-huh.
fears or hesitations or concerns? Like, was there any like, before you jumped into this program?
Maybe just like a small tad of like, this is kind of a lot of money. Like, am I gonna do this? But I
Mhm.
was just like, yeah, I am. Like, I think just it's normal, obviously, before you drop a significant chunk of change up front to be a little bit like, okay, am I really gonna do that? So yeah, I had that kind of like, but I also was like, it's worth it, so let's do it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how did you walk yourself through that?
I think I just was like, it's gonna be, it's gonna be so, it's gonna be worth what I'm paying, like I'm gonna get back way more than what I'm putting in, like it's like, okay, yeah, this is a chunk of change up front, but I guess the way not that I even necessarily said this to myself, but what it was is kind of like, yeah, but how much is it going to cost you to not spend this money? You know, it's like,
Yep,
yeah, that's always the right way to think of it. It's like, because people get so afraid of like, oh, this money right now, but it's like, yeah, but you will just continue to have this same amount of money right now, which is not as much as you want by not having this skill set and this knowledge and everything that comes with it.
legit. Okay, so it was like instead of being scared of like losing the amount of money that I'm about to put into this, it's like being scared of the amount of money that I'm going to lose by staying in the same fucking place for like the next 6 months, basically.
Yeah, and longer, just being like, that was it. I was like, if I don't spend this money, I will continue to not have this knowledge. And this knowledge sounds so valuable.
Mhm.
So, like, why would I not acquire it?
Yeah,
Yeah, like, okay, I'm spending money right now, but it's like, yeah, but it's gonna be worse to not spend the money.
for sure. I mean, I think you've already 6x'd it. I think you've already about 6x'd
Yeah,
it. So
yeah. I mean,
just
all your clients, like,
much
they're
better
always
than stock
raving.
market.
Yeah,
Better than
they're always rating, saying like, how much money they've made back. So it's definitely, and I mean, like, it's still like I've invested in so many different programs, so many different coaches and all that. And, like I paid much more than this program was for some programs and didn't get even close to the same level of value. So, and I know, like you say, that that's one of your common objections that you get is people are like, I've been burnt in the past. And, I kind of just think I'm like, that's just business. Like you just got to roll with it. Like sometimes you're going to spend money and it's not going to pay back as much as you thought. And then other times you're going to spend money and you're like going to be like, that was 1,000 times. I would have paid, 10 times what I paid. Um, but usually as you go along, you get better at knowing like, is this actually going to be a good investment? And I mean, like, yeah, in your case, it's like you're constantly just posting the proof that what you do works, like not only just for yourself, but like all your clients who are like, oh my God, like, I'm getting the exact results you said I would, and like making so much money back. So, I mean, yeah, I guess that's just what I would say is like if you're doubting whether or not a program is worth the money, just like look for the obvious results that that person is getting. And when it is obvious, and just be like, it's makes so much sense that I pay the money and get that result.
yeah, for sure. I love it. Cool. Thank you for answering the burned by coaches objection for me, by the way.
Yes, totally.
Um, cool. That's all I got. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap?
I'll just say, I mean, I've been burned by coaches, many times. And like I said, my attitude towards it is kind of like, okay, well, like sometimes that happens, but I just made two 50K cash months back to back and should be just continuing to increase that like pretty quickly. So maybe I've been burned by coaches, but I also am where I am now. And so I wouldn't, all this to say, I wouldn't be here if I had been afraid to invest. And yeah, some of those investments haven't always been worth it, but it's the fact that I was willing to invest is why I am where I am now. So don't be afraid to invest is the point.
No, it's super good. It's like just understand that like the bad investments, that's you being par for the course. And the only way you fall off the course is if you let the bad investments prevent you from making any other ones because you're gonna lose all the good ones, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just like, and even when it is a bad investment, like it's still, I mean, sucks, I guess, if you spent so much money on it, but it's like, oh, okay, that's like it's still valuable. Like you're still getting something from it because then you're going to be like, why was that a bad investment? Like, what didn't I enjoy? Like, what would I have rather had? And so it's always like you're either going to get what you thought you're going to get, or you're going to get really valuable feedback and insight. And even that is still worth the money a lot of the time.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like it always comes out in the wash anyways. Like even if it's not 100x, like there's usually something you get. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like I don't even worry about the programs where I'm like, oh, like I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, that happened, whatever. But then yeah, because the good ones, you're like, they were worth so much more than what I paid. So it just kind of all evens out.
Cool. I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time. We went kind of deep on this.
Yeah, anytime. I love talking about this.
Yeah, super good. And
Yeah, thank you so much.
I appreciate all the mindset bombs too. That was good.
Yes, anytime. My favorite thing to talk about. But yeah, thank you for all your help. Definitely I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for you. So that's really cool.
Grateful. Grateful.
All right, once again, I hope that you thought this was helpful. I hope this was valuable for you. If you want the absolute most value that I can provide to you, I promise you it's not going to be in a video. It's going to be by freaking working together and letting us help you execute this stuff. So if you want help executing this so that you can grow your business, scale your business, click the link below and find a time to book in a chat with me. I'll see you there.